Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is my pleasure to welcome you to Temple Emeth and to our Shabbat Evening Service here at the Rabbi Louis J. Siegel Sanctuary in Teaneck, New Jersey. Well, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving weekend. Cantor Tillum is at home this evening with her family to help celebrate Thanksgiving weekend, and so it is my pleasure to welcome back to our Bima Temple member Ida Jean Fisher, who will be offering our Chazanut this evening. I want to welcome those of you who are watching on live stream this evening. We are going to be using Mishkan Tefillah as our Siddur, our prayer book for this evening's service. And so I encourage you to bring a bound copy of Mishkan Tefillah, if you have one, to your computer or your screen. If you don't have a copy of Mishkan Tefillah, then you can access one, preferably on a second device, by going to our live stream page, emeth.org/livestream, scrolling down to where it says to access the Siddur prayer book, and then clicking on the link for Mishkan Tefillah for Shabbat weekdays and festivals. By doing that, you will open up our Siddur in a digital flipbook format, and you'll be able to follow along with all of the songs and prayers and page numbers of our service. Also, if you're watching on live stream, I encourage you to take a moment to identify yourself by posting your name or your location or a Shabbat greeting. Doing this helps us form bonds of virtual community and helps other people watching the service and live stream know that they are not alone. They are watching as part of a Jewish community engaged in prayer on this Shabbat. I want to welcome those of you who are here in the sanctuary this evening. We are using Mishkan Tefillah, as I mentioned, and you should be able to find your copy of Mishkan Tefillah right in front of your seat. So I invite you to do that and to open up, everyone, to pages 120 and 121, where we find our blessing for our candle lighting. And so it is my pleasure at this time to call upon Tammy Hecht and Rebecca Gomez, who will be leading our candle lighting this evening.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedetanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedetanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
The next prayer is the Kiddush for Shabbat evening, which is found on page 123. It is preceded by an opening reading. Please rise if you are able for the Kiddush.
As evening falls, we give thanks for the blessings of the past week, for life and strength, for work and rest, for home, love, and community. As we enjoy this bounty, may we be inspired to bring goodness into the lives of others. We raise a cup of wine in gratitude for the miracle of creation and for the gift of this day of rest. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר לציון מצרים, כיוון ובחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן.
Please be seated. We turn in Mishkan Tefillah to page 126. On page 126, we find an opening reading for our service, fitting for this Thanksgiving weekend as we begin with a prayer of gratitude. We read together, I begin with a prayer of gratitude for all that is holy in my life. God needs no words, no English or Hebrew, no semantics, and no services. But I need them. Through prayer, I can sense my inner strength, my inner purpose, my inner joy, my capacity to love. As I reach upward in prayer, I sense these qualities in my Creator. To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and to work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us and to bring that vision to life. Our opening song is found on page 128. We now join together in singing Hine Ma Tov.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this day. How good it is,
How good it is,
how sweet it is,
how sweet it is
to be together on this day. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שבת אחים גם יחד.
We turn now to page 143 of the Siddur, where we find an excerpt of a Torah portion that we read a few weeks ago from Parshat Vayetze in the book of Genesis. This week's Torah portion tells the story of when Joseph, the son of Jacob, whom we'll read about in just a sec, was put in jail for a crime he did not commit. In a way, this is a counterpoint to that story, because Jacob is not put in jail. Rather, he is forced to go into exile, to flee his parents' home, to flee everything he knows, really, for a crime that he did commit. Maybe it wasn't a crime by the legal system of the day, but it certainly was a theft. It certainly was a loss for its victim, his brother Esau. And so here we'll read about an exile based on a true allegation. Later in our service, we'll read about an imprisonment based on a false allegation. And each one, I hope, compels us to think about the role of truth and justice in our world, but more importantly, in our everyday interactions. We read together on page 143. And Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. Coming upon a certain place, he passed the night there, for the sun was setting. Taking one of the stones of the place, he made it his headrest as he lay down in that place. He dreamed, and lo, a ladder was set on the ground with its top reaching to heaven. And lo, angels of God going up and coming down on it. And lo, Adonai stood up above it and said, I, Adonai, am the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. The land on which you are lying I will give to you and to your descendants. And your descendants shall be like the dust of the earth. And you shall spread out to the west and the east and the north and the south. Through you and your descendants all the families of the earth shall find blessing. And here I am with you. I will watch over you wherever you go, and I will bring you back to the soil. I will not let go of you as long as I have yet to do what I have promised you. Waking from his sleep, Jacob said, Truly Adonai is in this place, and I did not know it. He was awestruck and said, How awe-inspiring is this place. This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
Amen.
בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל. בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומן ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתהלל, שמי דקדושה בריחו. לעילם עם כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, תמירן בעלמה, ואמרו
Amen. Please rise if you are able for the Baruch Hu, page 146.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
We read together in Hebrew on page 148. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, uvitfuna mishanei itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umisader et hakochavim b'mishmarotehem, barakia kirtsono. Borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uvein layla, Adonai tzvaot shemo. El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. As we turn the page, we read together in English on page 150. Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים לחיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם Adonai Elohechem Emet.
We turn now to page 157, and we look to the top of the page as we join together in English. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא תהילות אוסף עלה, נורא תהילות אוסף עלה, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה, יא לה 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 לה. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגלום יד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גל ישראל.
We join together now on page 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai hapores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג, ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג, עם מקדשי שביעי כולם יספעו ויתענגו מטובך. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג, ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג. והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג, ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקורא עונג. חמדת ימים אותו קראת, זה במעשה בראשית. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג. ישמחו במלכותך שומרי שבת וקוראי עונג.
Every word of one's prayer should be like a rose that is picked from a bush. One gathers rose upon rose until a bouquet is formed and can be offered to God as a beautiful blessing. We continue now with the tefillah, which is found on page 164. Please rise if you are able for the tefillah.
Adonai sefata tiftach ufia ki tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Hasdei Avot V'Imaot, U'Mevi Geulah Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Hozeh U'Moshiach Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחלחל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך מנית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. We turn now to page 177. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. As we turn the page, we join together in offering a prayer for peace. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael, ba'shalom. We take a moment now for Tefillat Halev, the opportunity to offer to God the prayer of our hearts. Inspirational readings are found on pages 180 and 181.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו
We continue now with our Torah service, Seder Kriyat HaTorah, which is found in Mishkan Tefillah beginning on page 363. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your cities, to hear, to learn, to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah, and let their children who do not yet know it hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God. We continue in the middle of the next page. Please rise.
שאו שערים ראשיכם ושאו פתחי עולם, יבוא מלך הכבוד. מיהו זה מלך הכבוד? אדוני צבאות הוא מלך הכבוד.
In this scroll is the secret of our people's life from Sinai until now. Its teaching is love and justice, goodness and hope. Freedom is its gift to all who treasure it.
Shema, Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Kadosh Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Gadlu Adonai iti, Uneromema Shemo Yadav. Lecha Adonai hagevura v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'hanetzach v'chachot, ki kol b'shamayim u'va'aretz, ki kol b'shamayim u'va'aretz. Lecha Adonai hamamlacha ואני נעשה לכל לראש.
Please be seated. This week's Torah portion is Parashat Vayeshev, and it is the first of several Torah portions that tells the story of Joseph and his journey in Egypt, first as a slave, then as a prisoner, and then as one of the highest-ranking Egyptian officials. Well, the story that I'm going to tell within this greater story, this greater narrative, is how Joseph was wrongly accused of a sexual crime in his master's household, accused by his master's wife, and for that reason was sent to prison. So there's, as I mentioned a few moments ago, there's a lot to learn from this Torah portion, especially the idea that our words matter, that the truth matters, and that we have a sense of injustice here, as well we should when reading the Joseph story, that the accusation against him is false, but the punishment laid against him is very real. And so you can follow along as I read from the Torah. If you're here in the sanctuary, you can open in one of the Plaut commentary books to page 257. If you are watching on live stream and you have a copy of the revised Torah commentary, which you might have borrowed earlier in the pandemic to bring it home for just such a purpose, then you can find our Torah portion on page 253. I'm going to be reading beginning with Genesis chapter 19, verse 11. Okay, give me just a sec to find my spot. Okay, so Pauline, put your hand right there. Just a sec. Okay, I'm ready.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher Baruch Banu Mikol Ha'amim. V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Amen. Vayehi k'hayom hazeh. Vayavo habayta la'asot melachto. Ve'ein ish me'anshei habayit sham babayit. ותתפשהו בבגדו לאמור שכבה עמי ויעזוב בגדו בידיו וינוס ויצא החוצה ויהי כראותה כי עזב בגדו בידה וינוס החוצה ותקרא לאנשי ביתה ותאמר להם לאמור ראו הביא לנו איש עברי לצחק בנו בא אלי לשכב עמי ואקרא בקול גדול ויהי כי שמעו כי הרימותי קולי ואקרא ויעזוב בגדו אצלי וינוס ויצא החוצה ותנח בגדו אצלה עד בוא אדוניו אל ביתו ותדבר אליו כדברים האלה לאמור בא אלי העבד העברי אשר הבאת לנו לצחק בי ויהי כהרימי קולי ואקרא ויעזוב בגדו אצלי וינוס החוצה ויהי כשמע אדוניו את דברי אשתו אשר דברה אליו לאמור כדברים האלה עשה לי עבדך ויחר אפו ויקח אדוני יוסף אותו ויתנחו אל בית הסוהר מקום אשר אסירי המלך אסורים ויהי שם בבית הסוהר.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בוך בנו
אשר נתן לנו את תורתו.
בחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך אתה אדוני,
נותן
התורה. אמן. Yashuv Galach. You can have a seat right behind me. At this time, our thoughts turn to those in need of healing as we prepare to offer a mishaberach for healing, which is found in your Siddur on page 371. If you are watching us on live stream and you're thinking of someone in need of healing, I invite you to share the name of your loved one in the chat or comment section of the live stream platform. If you're here in the sanctuary and you're thinking of someone, I invite you to share their name out loud or in your heart. The names of our temple members and our loved ones of our temple members for whom we pray will be shown on your screen as we join together now in singing the Mishaberach.
Avotenu Avraham Yitzhak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Hu yivarech v'yirapeh et hacholim Shaberach Imotenu Avraham Yitzhak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Hu yivarech v'yirapeh et hacholim El Narefah
Our service continues with the lifting and dressing of the Torah, which is found at the bottom of page 370. Please rise if you are able for Hagba and Galila.
Bezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe Lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai biyad Moshe. Yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai. Yalla lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla yalla yalla. Yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai. Yalla lai 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 lai. Yalla lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla yalla yalla. Yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai, yalla lai 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 lai. Yalai, yalai, yalai.
Please be seated. The Haftarah for this Shabbat is found on page 352 of the Plaut Commentaries, and if you're watching at home and you have a revised Torah commentary, you'll find it on page 263. The prophet Amos has this lyrical style of saying for 3 transgressions and for 4. So this is a style that is quite common in his prophecy. But what is unique, and that's the narrative hook from the Haftarah back to the Torah portion, is that in the first verse of the Haftarah it talks about they have sold for silver those whose cause was just. That is a reference back to the Joseph story of Amos's complaint against the Israelites in his day. So Pauline Hecht is going to be reading the Haftarah. She's going to read the first half, the part of Amos chapter 2 that appears in the Torah commentary. She's going to cut off in the middle, and then we invite you back to tomorrow morning service where we'll hear the second half of this week's Haftarah portion. Once again, page 352 or page 263.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nevi'im tovim v'ratzah v'divreihem hane'amarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'Torah uv'Moshe avdo uv'Yisrael amo uv'invi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Thus said the Lord, for 3 transgressions of Israel, for 4 I will not revoke it, because they have sold for silver those whose cause was just, and the needy for a pair of sandals. Ah, you who trample the heads of the poor into the dust of the ground, and make the humble walk a twisted course. Father and son go to the same girl, and thereby profane my holy name. They recline by every altar on garments taken in pledge, and drink in the house of God wine brought with fines they imposed. Destroyed the Amorite before them, whose stature was like the cedars, and whose stout was as oak, destroying his boughs above and his trunk below. And I brought you from the land of Egypt, and led you through the wilderness 40 years to possess the land of the Amorites. And I raised up prophets from among your sons, and Nazirites from among your young men. Is that not so, O people of Israel, says the Lord? But you made the Nazirites drink wine, and ordered the prophets not to prophesy. Ah, I will slow your movements as a wagon is slowed, when it is full of cut grain. Flight shall fall the swift, the strong shall find no strength, and the warrior shall not save his life. The bowman shall not hold his ground, and the fleet-footed shall not escape, nor the horseman save his life. Even the most stout-hearted warrior shall run away unarmed that day, declares the Lord. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, tzor kol ha'olamim, tzadik b'chol hadarot, ha'el ha'ne'aman, ha'omer va'oseh, hamdaber umkayem, shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, al ha'torah, v'al ha'avodah, v'al ha'nevi'im, v'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, likdusha v'limnuha, lehavod ul tifaret, al hakol, Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, umbarhim otach, yitbarach shimha, b'fi kol hai tamid le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat.
Our service continues as we prepare to return the Torah to the Ark. We turn in our Siddur to page 374. Please rise. Yehalalu et Shem Adonai ki niskab shemo levado.
Hodo al eretz v'shamayim vayaren keren le'amo tehila lecho hasidav livnei Israel am kero. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Ki lekach tov natati la. Sorry. Ki lekach tov natati lahem torati al tazovu. It's imhi amachazikim ba vetomchecha meushar derachecha darchei noam vechol netivotecha shalom hashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva chadesh chadesh yameinu kekedem.
Please be seated.
Sorry about that.
Pauline. The Me Too movement has laid bare the many ways women suffer discrimination in the workplace and other settings. When they speak out, they are often accused of being liars, defaming a powerful man for their own nefarious reasons. Research indicates that this is rarely the case, that true cases of assault and harassment are underreported while false accusations are few and far between. A few months ago, Governor Andrew Cuomo of New York resigned his office following an investigation by the state's Attorney General. The complaints against Cuomo were numerous and credible, according to the investigation. Cuomo avoided accountability for his harassment in part because he was seen as such a steady leader during the first few months of the pandemic. Now a committee in the state assembly is investigating whether he prevented state officials and city officials from working together for the public good, how he undercounted elderly victims of the virus, and how he used state employees to work on a book that would laud his leadership. Cuomo's response to these allegations is that they are politically motivated. It's true his brand of hard-knuckled leadership earned him more than his fair share of detractors, but that doesn't mean that the many witnesses against him are lying. In recent weeks, the result of another investigation has been released, this one much closer to home. After a few powerful accusations against former or deceased employees, the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion commissioned a law firm to prepare an independent report to assess sexual harassment, racism, and anti-LGBT bias on its 4 campuses. The report described HUC-JIR, which trains Reform rabbis, cantors, and educators, as an institution that in countless ways failed to live up to the ideals of the Reform movement. After conducting 170 interviews, the law firm described an institution where professors took advantage of the power imbalance between themselves and their students, where students did not know where to turn, and where administrators were often powerless to hold offenders accountable. According to the report, there were enough credible accusations to list 6 faculty members, including 2 consecutive presidents of the institution, by name. The report lists several recommended action items which HUC-JIR's Board of Governors will consider when they meet to discuss the report for the first time next month. The Jewish world will be watching to see how the school can respond to the report, hold current professors accused of wrongdoing accountable, and create the systems of reporting and communication that will lift the veil of shame and silence that sat over HUC for decades. I thought of these incidents as I read the story of Joseph and Potiphar's wife. The story catches our attention by using the time-tested man bites dog approach to storytelling. Joseph, the man, is the victim of sexual harassment and retaliation. Potiphar's wife, the woman, is the harasser. When her inappropriate sexual advances are rebuffed, she gets angry and tells a story which is the opposite of what really happened. It would not be a credible story if not for two important details. The first is that there is a clear power imbalance that Potiphar's wife exploits. As the spouse of Joseph's owner, she has incredible influence over Joseph's future and even his freedom. The second is that while Potiphar's wife makes her false accusation twice, Joseph is never given the chance to speak in his own defense. Instead, he is treated as servants are often treated, guilty until proven innocent, and expendable until a crisis requires his skills. Joseph's story ends well, but that should not make us indifferent to the injustice he faced. Putting aside the injustice of being sold into slavery by his brothers, he is forced to work in the presence of a sexual predator who makes frequent unwanted sexual advances. She waits until the house is empty and then makes a move when she thinks she won't be caught. As much as it works for Pharaoh's wife to act with impunity, it also works against Joseph, as he has no witnesses to his innocence. Finally, he is put in jail without a trial, an investigation, or even an interview. He has been stripped not only of his rights, which was still an amorphous concept in the time of the Torah, but of his dignity as well. Joseph's story ends with him at the pinnacle of power and respect. His brothers seek forgiveness for what they have done to him, but neither Potiphar nor his wife apologize to Joseph for what he endured while a servant in their home. The story is not over for former Governor Cuomo or for those who were victimized at HUC-JIR. Yes, reforms are needed. Yes, soul-searching is in order, but these must serve a fundamental principle, that institutions of employment, government, and education, with their inherent power imbalances, must always promote the dignity of those who enter their doors. The more we come to understand this, the more we embrace the true lesson of Joseph's story. Shabbat Shalom. Our service continues now with the Aleinu, which is found in your Siddur on page 586 at the bottom of the page. Please rise if you are able for the Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות חדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אחד ושמו אחד.
We remain standing as we turn to page 595 for a reading to introduce the Mourner's Kaddish. There are stars up above so far away we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. This Shabbat, we remember those for whom we are in the Shloshim, 30-day period of mourning. Candido Bejarano, father of Maggie Wallach. Sandra Chellemer, cousin of Mark Chellemer. Lonnie Rubenstein, friend of Eleanor Bookbinder. And Marjorie Zach, a Temple member and mother of Susan Bresnick. We remember as well those whose yard sites occurred this week. Blanche Berenson Goldis, Kenneth Cantor, Jordy Cohen, Sophie Feldman, Sumner Fishman, Louis Freed, Julius Fuchs, Selma Fuchs, Louis Gold, Mary Lou Goldstein, Harry Gordon, Philip Grossman, Pauline Grunberg, Charles Jean Hirsch, Lloyd Idelson, Rachel Kaplan, Lawrence Knowles, Theodore Cohane, Dolores Rabin, Roy Rubenstein, Minnie Shapiro, Hyman Sobel, Stephen Stone, Anna Sturm, Simon Trachtenberg, Estelle Ullman, James F. Veach, Jerome Wieselberg, and Dorothy S. Williams. We remember as well the names of 6 of the 6 million who perished in the Holocaust. Rafal Eisenberg of France, age 38, Albert Glassel of Czechoslovakia, age 63, Cornelia Reichveld of Czechoslovakia, age 61, Ada Sus of Czechoslovakia, age 32, Bronya Rosmarin of the Soviet Union, age 37, and Volko Rosmarin of the Soviet Union, age 65. We remember them all. We take them into our hearts with our own as we turn now to page 598, and we join together in the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'yizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivorach leolam ulalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. It is my pleasure at this time to call upon Marty Bresnick, a member of our Board of Trustees, to offer Shabbat greetings and announcements.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, it's my pleasure to welcome you to our Shabbat evening service. The first Hanukkah candle is lit this Sunday evening, November 28th. We hope you'll celebrate the Festival of Lights with the community at the following times. Wednesday, December 1 at 5:15, our religious school celebration in the sanctuary will be open to the congregation and shown on live stream. Friday, December 3rd at 7:30, we'll light the Chanukiah as part of our family service. Sunday, December 5th at 4:30, we'll gather in the parking lot. Each family is encouraged to bring their own Chanukiah to light. We'll have a raffle and enjoy latkes from Ember by Smokey Joe. Both Eis Chaim and Kol Emet will perform at this outdoor event. Details for these events are in your weekly emails. Come to the social hall on Tuesday evening, November 30th, for Movies That Mattered. This month's film is The Chosen, which tells the story of Danny, a Hasidic Jew, and Reuven, a Zionist who become good friends. Opposing family perspectives eventually lead to tension between the friends. Seating will be socially distanced and packaged snacks will be available. Showtime is 7:30 p.m. Proof of vaccination and masks are required. The Religious Action Center of New Jersey invites us to participate in a consultation on conscience hosted by Anshe Emeth Memorial Temple in New Brunswick on Sunday, December 5th from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock p.m. This year's topic is anti-Semitism and xenophobia in American society, and the event will both be in person and online. Thank you to this evening's volunteers in the live stream control room. Meredith Alvaro and Amanda Eastman are at the controls tonight. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Marty. As I passed by the live stream control room on my way to the sanctuary, I also saw Mike Eastman and Allegra Alvaro in there also. So I want to say thank you to them. And a special thank you and Yasher Koach to Ida Jean Fisher for offering our Chazanut this evening. And she was accompanied by Tom Mustachio. So thank you and Yasher Koach to Tom as well. Ida Jean wants to teach us a new song. So I'm going to turn it over to her to teach us a new song. We're going to put the words on the screen also, and that way we'll all be able to participate. Ida Jean.
Okie dokie. This is actually, didn't start off as being a particularly Jewish song. It was originally written by Tom Paxton, and I think it was, I think the first time I may have heard it was around the time frame of the Vietnam era. And it's very simple. The words are repeated kind of over and over again. It's pretty catchy. It's easy to sing along with. So for those that are in the sanctuary, let's just do the words fast for a minute. So I'm going to say a word. You repeat what I say. Peace.
Peace.
Peace will.
Peace will.
Peace will come.
Peace will come.
Let it begin with you.
Let it begin with you.
And then it goes, we need peace. Let it begin with you. And then the other verse that you probably want to know is the Hebrew verse, which is an addition that Dan Nichols made. You should always acknowledge people that write things because they work hard enough. They should be acknowledged. And that verse goes, Shalom, Shalom Yavo, Sheyatchil iti. Sheyatchil iti. May it begin with you. So that's pretty much most of the words. There is a chorus to this. It's kind of hard to teach fast, but you got the verses. The verses are down. It's basically a triad, three things that are repeated, and then let it begin with me. So let's do it. And special thanks to Tom. We only tried to even work this out just before the service, and he's amazing. Peace. Peace will come. Let it begin with me. We need peace. Let it begin with me. Oh, my life is all I can hope to control. Let my life be lived for the good of my soul, and let it bring peace, sweet peace. Peace will come. Let it begin with me. Shalom, Shalom Yavo, Shalom Yavo. Sheyatchil iti. Oh, my own life is all I can hope to control. Let my life be lived for the good of my soul, and let it bring peace, sweet peace. Peace will come.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Ida Jean. If you've been watching us on live stream, well, you should know that our service is drawing to a close, and this is your last chance to post a comment or greeting in the chat or comment section of your live stream platform. For those of us here in the sanctuary, I invite you to the Oneg Shabbat in our social hall immediately following our service. You can take your mask off to have a little nosh and something to drink, and then we'll ask you to put it right back on when you're finished eating or drinking. But it's a chance to sit and eat something and enjoy one another's company. So you're invited to that in just a moment. But first we conclude our service by turning to one another and saying, Shabbat Shalom.